Anioma State is in the south, not in the southeast, but they are Igbo. So if you create Anioma State and there is nobody from the southeast that is against the creation of Anioma State, but it has to be created from the south, not from the southeast. If you create Anioma State, you have made the numbers of the state in the south to be 7, and that will increase the agitation. And there is no way legally you can say that Anioma State can be created from the southeast, because that will need boundary adjustment. The states have been settled. The geopolitical zones have been recognized by law. In the Federal Character Commission, you will see the geopolitical zones. And Anioma is in the south. So Anioma is not qualified by law to be created from the southeast. The Igbos have never, ever. There's no place we have ever denied Anioma people. They have even been the ones who have confessed that maybe because of the war and all those things, at times they denied that they are not Igbo. Look at what Tinubu is doing. Apart from the preponderance of the southwest people he has appointed, he has now shifted. When people started crying so much, he has now shifted to North Central. And he's still appointing the Yoruba, but claiming they are from the north. Odulari, NMPC chairman, Amupito, INEC chairman, the Attorney General of the Federation. These are from north, but these are all Yoruba. Now you have the Chief of Defense Staff. Now you have the Chief of Army Staff. But they'll tell you, no, the Chief of Army Staff is from the north. Odulari is from the north. Amupito is from the north. The Attorney General of the Federation, Latif is from the north, but they're all Yoruba. That is the advantage that majority tribe have. The minorities do not have it. So when the Anioma people are actually saying they should collapse into South, they're not helping the Igbo nation. What they should be doing is to fight for Anioma State to be created from South, so that if there is any Igbo, any president of Nigeria from Igbo extraction, he can actually appoint an Igbo person from Southeast, appoint an Igbo person from South, appoint an Igbo person from the North, because the Igbos are in Kogi, they are in Benue. And he would have not offended the Federal Character Commission.
Well, in a recent interview granted by Kenneth Okonkwo on Symphony Television, he made a thought-provoking suggestion: the creation of Adada State instead of Anioma or any other proposed state from the southeast. And his argument seems to be, or should I say, seems to stem from a deeper understanding of a geopolitical balance and cultural alignment within the Igbo nation. Kenneth Okonkwo believes that the Adada State would better serve the true interest of the Southeast people and fulfill the constitutional requirement for equality of states across regions. When compared to what Nedunwoko proposed, that is Anioma State creation, Okonkwo's idea, appears to me, I don't know, but appears to me more ground-founded in regional identity and fairness. While Nedunwoko's push for Anioma, though, might be well-intentioned, when you talk about the identity and all of that. All right, so as we move into this part of the interview, pay close attention to the Kenneth Okonkwo's reasoning. He emphasizes that the idea of Adada States isn't just about drawing boundaries, but about restoring equity in the Southeast region and ensuring that the Igbo have the same number of states as other geopolitical zones. According to him, he also maintained that creating Anioma State, which is geopolitically from the south, would not be politically correct to call it a Southeast state because of the impossibility of the adjustment of the boundary. Now, notice how he contrasts this whole thing, the Anioma State proposed by Nedunwoko. Okonkwo argues that while Anioma might sound like a convenient political option, it does not truly represent the heart of the Southeast struggle for balance and recognition. Now let's continue. In this next clip, listen carefully to how he frames Adada as a historical and moral necessity rather than a mere political demand. Now let's watch the continuation of this interview.
You've been very vocal over the issue of creation of Adada states from the Southeast. What informed this advocacy, and what are the benefits you think are derivable from it?
Well, first of all, the National Assembly was very clear in their declaration that a state should be created from the Southeast. Southeast is a geopolitical zone. It's not a tribe. So, when people talk about Southeast, there are 5 states in the Southeast: Anambra, Enugu, Imo, Abia, and Ebonyi. So by the declaration of the National Assembly, Any state that should be created must be created from these 5 states. And that is because of the injustice meted out to the southeast people, where they have 5 states. And there are some geopolitical zones that have 7 states. So any area not part of southeast is not qualified at all to even be considered. And let me sound this note of caution. If by any means the National Assembly creates another state from another geopolitical zone, they have increased the agitation, because you have increased the number of states in that geopolitical zone to be 7, and the southeast will still remain 5, and they will continue to agitate against marginalization. So what the National Assembly said is a state should be created from the southeast, and it is not from the south. There is a disconnect here. When people are talking about Anioma State, with respect, Anioma State are Igbos, and Igbos have always been very proud of all their brothers in all parts of the world. The Igbos are spread in all parts of the world. That's why I always say that the world is the only country that is big enough to accommodate the Igbo man. But here is the point. Anioma State is in the south, not in the southeast, but they are Igbo. So if you create Anioma State and there is nobody from the southeast that is against the creation of Anioma State, but it has to be created from the south, not from the southeast. If you create Anioma State, you have made the numbers of the state in the south to be 7, and that will increase the agitation. And there is no way legally you can say that Anioma State can be created from the southeast, because that will need boundary adjustment. The states have been settled. The geopolitical zones have been recognized by law. In the Federal Character Commission, you will see the geopolitical zones. And Anioma is in the south. So Anioma is not qualified by law to be created from the southeast. So legally and unconstitutionally, they are not part of the southeast. So they cannot be talking about being created from the southeast. But here is the point. And this is what I'm telling my Anioma brothers. The Igbos have never, ever, there's no place we have ever denied Anioma people. They have even been the ones who have confessed that maybe because of the war and all those things, at times they denied that they are not Igbo. So we love them, we cherish them. I love them and cherish them. But this is what happened, which they have not taken note of. Every majority tribe in Nigeria has that advantage that they are spread in about 3 geopolitical zones. Every majority tribe. And they use it for their own advantage. The Hausa Fulani is spread in the northwest, northeast, and north central. So meaning any president from Hausa Fulani extraction can actually appoint Hausa Fulani from the northwest, from the northeast, from the north central, and still be arguing that it's from different geopolitical zones. The Yoruba are spread southwest, north, and even a little bit of south. So a president of Yoruba extraction can actually appoint Yoruba from the southwest, from the north, and from the south, and still argue that no, he's appointing people from different geopolitical zones. Ndi Igbo too, as a majority tribe, are spread in the southeast, in the south, and in the north. So any attempt by anybody to say let the whole Igbo come into one zone, to become one geopolitical zone, you are actually diminishing in the Igbo. You are actually removing that advantage you have as a majority tribe, because any Igbo president will not have the opportunity to appoint Igbos from the 3 geopolitical zones and still claim he has not offended the Federal Character Commission. Look at what Tinubu is doing. Apart from the preponderance of the southwest people he has appointed, he has now shifted. When people started crying so much, he has now shifted to north central, and he's still appointing the Yoruba, but claiming they are from the north. Odulari, NMPC chairman, Amupito, INEC chairman, the Attorney General of the Federation. These are from north, but these are all Yoruba. Now you have the Chief of Defense Staff. Now you have the Chief of Army Staff. But they will tell you, no, the Chief of Army Staff is from the north. Odulari is from the north. Amupito is from the north. The Attorney General of the Federation, that is from the north. But they are all Yoruba. That is the advantage that majority tribe have. The minorities do not have it. So when the Anioma people are actually saying they should collapse into South, they are not helping the Igbo nation. What they should be doing is to fight for Anioma State to be created from South, so that if there is any Igbo any president of Nigeria from Igbo extraction, he can actually appoint an Igbo person from southeast, appoint an Igbo person from south, appoint an Igbo person from the north, because the Igbos are in Kogi, they are in Benue. And he would have not offended the Federal Character Commission. So you see, ignorance, I'm sorry to use the word, but lack of knowledge. You see, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. If you say you want to create Anioma from the southeast, if you say it's the 6th state, no, the original 5 states are still remaining 5, and you have diminished in the Igbo. But if you create one more state in the southeast, it will be 6. And if we now have an Anioma state from south, we have 7, as in Igbo nation. So please, stop this issue about you want to create an Anioma state from the southeast. You're actually compacting us, diminishing us, not expanding us. What we need is expansion. I would want the Igbo to be created from every state. So that's another point. Let's talk about viability. A lot of people do not know that Nsukka land is the most viable area in the whole Nigeria to stand as a state. First of all, what did the budget office say recently? They said that Enugu state is the most viable state now that can survive without FAC. It is there. Adada State is more than 51% of Enugu state. Adada State alone. Made up of Ozo1, made up of Isuzu, made up of Igbo, made up of Nsukka, made up of Igbo North, Igbo South, made up of Udenu. And then, you can still create other local governments if you wish to join from other states with the capital in Nsukka. Let's talk about viability. First and foremost, a nation succeeds not because of what lies beneath their feet, but what lies in their head. Enugu State has been pivotal in the education of the entire Nigeria, and I'm talking about Adada State this time, by the establishment of University of Nigeria, which Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe insisted must be in Nsukka land because of the viability of Nsukka land, in terms of the weather, in terms of the fertility of the soil, in terms of the peaceful environment, in terms of the accommodation by the people, so that the university will never have any trouble. Until today, the university never had any trouble with the community. What a record. Till today, everything is always sorted out peacefully. So the ingenuity that University of Nigeria has given to the whole Nigeria, the whole Igbo land, including Nsukka. I am a product of University of Nigeria, and I can take on anybody from any part of the world when it comes to knowledge, to restore the dignity of man. So when you talk about what happens on the head, which area will boast that they have trained people in terms of skill, in terms of academic intelligence, like Nsukka land. That's by the way. When we talk about material resources, a lot of people do not even know. We have oil that is discovered in Nsukka land. And I'm talking about Adada State. And that is in Iga. If you go to Iga, there are 4 oil wells already established, not tapped. And in Kalago, and in Handiago, there is still wells that have been marked. Uranium is now being talked about in a Hamuf. Uranium. Coal in Obolaf. Many that I cannot mention. You'll be talking about that ledger has been a term since 500 years that I've been talking about smelting iron. You go there, you see it. It is of international repute. More than 500 years. Meaning there is possibility of iron ore deposited there because they couldn't have gotten iron from another part of the world since 500 years ago. I'm talking about materials. These are oil. I'm talking about solid minerals. The reason these minerals have not been exploited because we've not had a state. We are not landlocked at all. River Adada, people do not even know that only here Adada State is a river. Adada itself is a river. What separates us and Kogi is a river. And that is why our oil wells, they've been attempting, all the neighboring states, to know whether they will start drilling our oil from their place underground. That is why they've been having problems. That's when you hear Kogi have oil, Anambra have oil, Enugu have oil. It is in Enugu State. It's in Adada. Do I talk about agriculture? Come on, forget it. The honey that I'm using now in my house is from Nsukka land. When we were young, the window we had then was wooden window. So bees come to your window to make oil for you, to make honey for you. So in the morning, you use your finger to collect the honey to lick. We have Ukwu when we're going to school. Pot of honey. You go there, you run into Ukwu to be licking honey. I'm talking about land flowing with oil and honey. Do I talk about the fertility of the land without fertilizer? You must have heard about Ose and Nsukka. The whole board knows it. industrialists coming for it because of its aroma, because of its medicinal quality when you take it. Am I talking about rice? Rice is traditional with us as part of our staple. You talk about other rice, because we are in the lower basin, and lower basin means you attract minerals from everywhere. Since the time of Jim Obodo, they use other rice to feed the whole Anambra state, comprising of present Anambra, Enugu, Ebonyi state. Other rice, exportable in commercial quantity. And these things you do without fertilizer. Are you talking about human beings? Our population is more than the population of the rest of Enugu state combined. Are you talking about landmass? There is no area in the whole southeast that has the landmass that Adada State has. So when you talk about the landmass and we are number one, you talk about human resources, whether doctors or professors, so that we are number one. You talk about solid minerals, we are number one. You talk about liquid minerals, we are number one. What are you talking about viability? If you do know the kind of tourist sites we have, talk about the cave in Ichi, as Igbo is the south. Caves, oh my God, indescribable. Just wait until they give us Adada State, and you will see that the southeast will be very happy. Nigeria will be very happy, and the whole world will be very happy that there is a state like Adada State in Nsukka land. So when you talk about viability, we are number one. When you talk about intellectual capacity, we are number one. You talk about human resources, we are number one. You talk about land mass, we are number one. You talk about agrarian power, we are number one. You talk about solid minerals, we are number one. So what else? And these things are verifiable. So when you talk about Adada State, it's not one of the, it should be the only state. And Adada State, I was not an originator, I was a joiner. Because when we were born, we started hearing about Adada State. During the time of Jim Obodo, when Jim Obodo comes for campaign, he will promise that Adada State is one of his priority to create it. During Jim, I'm talking about 79, as at that time. So, when you're talking about all these new states that are coming, it was Adada State they would have created instead of Ebonyi. But because of Akani Ibiam, who was the former governor of the eastern region, Abacha had to acquiesce to him. And they made it clear from that time that the next state to be created from the south is Adada State. I'm even surprised that anybody is even offering any alternative. Like I said, Anioma is part of South South, so it's not even part of the constitution and should not even be, because Igbo wants to expand. So the only option now is Adada State with the capital in Nsukka land. Viability, we are number one in everything. So that's why I am advocating for it.
Okay, let's look. Some persons have said for equity's sake, the Southeast needs an additional state.
Yes.
But there are also
an additional Adada State.
Yeah.
Yes.
There are also insinuations that they might consider other geopolitical zones for one more state.
After.
Where does he also leave the Southeast?
No, that's no.
Short change.
You didn't know. You didn't hear them. They say, after giving Southeast one additional state, then if they want to consider the creation of additional states in Nigeria, then every geopolitical zone will now receive one. That means Southeast will receive its own.
Okay.
So it's not, they are not going to go back to, they know the kind of agitation and marginalization, cry of marginalization that the lopsidedness have created. What they are saying, and I really want to thank the Nigerian Federation, to thank Senator Abdul Ningi for moving the motion from Bauchi Central, to thank Honorable Isiaka from Ogun State, Ibrahim Isiaka from Ogun State for seconding it, and to thank Alain Dume for that wonderful statement he made, that this is a long overdue act of justice and fairness. This is the whole Nigeria recognizing the marginalization, recognizing the injustice, and want to redress it. So thank God they will continue in that line to create Adada State with the capital in Nsukka, the university town.
Having watched the full interview, it is obviously clear that Kenneth Okonkwo delivered one of the most intellectually disciplined arguments on the question of Southeast development and representation in recent times. Throughout the discussion, you would find out that he didn't just call for another state. He redefined why the Southeast needs one, particularly within the Southeast geopolitical zone. Okonkwo approached the issue from a constitutional, moral, and identity-based perspective, grounding his call for Adada State in the principle of federal equality. He stated that the struggle for state creation should not be emotional or tribalistic, but guided by logic and fairness. His central point was that creating an Anioma state would not solve the marginalization cry or the imbalance, because Anioma belonged to the South-South geopolitical zone, not the Southeast. So such a move would only increase the number of states in the South-South, not from the Southeast. That is to say, South-South will now have 7 states, leaving the Southeast still behind with 5. Okonkwo's argument for Adada was therefore framed as a matter of justice. He maintained that the new state would come from within the Southeast, not from the periphery of its cultural influx. He highlighted Nsukka, Udenu, Ozowane, and part of Igbo Etiti as logical centers for the proposed Adada State, a vision that dates back decades in Igbo political discourse. What stood out most was his reminder that every region in Nigeria should have equal representation to ensure true federalism. He criticized what he calls sentimental agitation. So the idea of proposing new states merely to, please certain political interests rather than to correct cultural injustice. So to me, when you compare this to Nnedi Nwoko's advocacy for Anioma State, the contrasts become so clear. Nnedi Nwoko's campaign is more of cultural and emotional, anchored on the fact that Anioma people share, Igbo heritage and therefore deserve their own state. Okonkwo, however, insists that the representation must follow constitutional geography, not cultural sympathy. And of course, he also highlighted the importance of Igbo people being, present in some other geopolitical zones, which is to him is of more of political advantage to Igbo nation. And from a political analysis standpoint, Kenneth Okonkwo's interview was a strategic wake-up call to the Southeast political elite. He's essentially saying that unity must be built on truth, that Ndi Igbo must first get their 6 states within the current Southeast before seeking wider cultural inclusion. His delivery, to me, was calm but firm, backed by history, law, and moral conviction. In essence, he reminded Nigerians that justice isn't about expansion, but about correction. These are the things I want you to take in as an Igbo person. Adada State aligns with constitutional equity, not sentiment. Anioma belongs to the South-South, and that is obvious, and its creation wouldn't fix the Southeast imbalance. The Southeast needs to act in unity and speak with one voice. Kenneth Okonkwo positioned himself as a voice of reason and intellectual balance in the state creation debate. Conclusively, this interview reinforces a broader truth that the Southeast's demand for equality in Nigeria's political structure is not about identity, but about federal justice and national balance. Kenneth Okonkwo's interview on Symphony Television about this wasn't another political conversation. It was a reminder that true equity begins where sentiment ends. His call for Adada State is a challenge to Ndi Igbo to think deeper, act united, and demand justice through structure, not sympathy. Whether you agree with him or lean towards Nnedi Nwoko's Anioma's proposal, one thing is clear: the Southeast deserve a fair voice in Nigeria's federation, but that voice must be guided by truth, not convenience. At the end of the day, this is not about creating a new state, it's about correcting a national imbalance and restoring faith in the fairness. Don't forget, this is about perspectives, your domain for undiluted news and raw political analysis.
Thank you for watching. Until next time, stay informed and stay political.